Hi, I'm Christian.
And I'm Jacob. And today, I'd like you to visualize what power looks like. Is it someone with great big rippling muscles, or a superhero who can lift a whole car by themselves, or someone who enforces the law? Or maybe it's something a little different, like someone who helps calm you down after a bad day.
Yeah, power can look like many different forms. When I think of power, I think of big hurricanes and weather systems and lightning, things with so much force and energy.
Yeah, and those things sometimes can be so powerful they're scary. But that brings us into today's big idea. Jesus has power over everything. Let's see what that looks like.
Hello friends, welcome to my coffee shop. My name is Aaron and this is Coffee Shop Facts with Aaron. Did you know that in ancient Arab culture, a woman could only get a divorce from her husband if he didn't like her coffee? Divorce can be pretty bitter. Hey everyone, great to see you again. So a few years ago, I went wall climbing for the first time, and I had the opportunity to actually be trained as a belayer. So if you don't know what that means, when somebody is climbing on the walls, they're attached to a harness and a rope, and the other person at the end of the rope is holding them, just as a safety net in case they fall. So when I learned how to do this, I didn't really treat it with enough responsibility, and when the person fell, I wasn't paying full attention, and it took me a second before I got them. And thankfully, they weren't hurt, but it made me realize that I had so much power over the situation. I was literally holding their safety in my hands. And I had to be responsible with that power. I had to treat it with a lot of care because someone could be hurt if I didn't. We're still in our series called Follow, and we're learning what it means to follow Jesus with our lives and live like him. Now we know that Jesus is the perfect example and that he helps us resist temptation. Now today we're gonna be talking about why we can trust him. In that I told my story about belaying for a reason, because we can feel safe and secure, just like Jesus, because Jesus has power over everything. Today's story comes from Mark 1. Now, if you remember, Jesus was just baptized by John the Baptist, and then he was tempted in the desert. And now he is teaching around Galilee, and he's teaching about the kingdom of heaven. He's saying that it's near and that we have to repent and we have to come closer to God. So Jesus is telling everyone he sees about this. But he's walking one day by the Sea of Galilee, and he happens to run into Simon and his brother Andrew. Now, both of them are fishermen and they're out fishing, and Jesus turns to them and says, "Come, follow me, I will teach you to fish for people." Now that might seem like a weird thing to say, but they got what he was saying, and they immediately dropped their nets and decided to follow Jesus. So they continue to walk down the path, and they run into James and John, sons of Zebedee, which later they had the coolest nicknames in the world called Sons of Thunder. That's awesome. They were getting ready to go out and fish, and Jesus says almost the same thing. He says, "Come, follow me." And immediately they left their nets and their dad, who was their business partner, behind, and they just decided, you know what? I'm gonna follow you, Jesus. So Jesus and his brand new followers, they walk and they go to the synagogue in Capernaum. Now there Jesus starts teaching. He wants to teach, and he's teaching with authority. He really knows what he's talking about here. As Jesus is teaching in the synagogue, something crazy happens. Let's read about it. Suddenly, a man in the synagogue who was possessed by an evil spirit cried out, "Why are you interfering with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." But Jesus reprimanded him. "Be quiet, come out of the man," he ordered. At that, the evil spirit screamed, threw the man into a convulsion, and then came out of him. So that's a crazy story, but there are a few things to note here. First of all, that the evil spirit knew who Jesus was. Because Jesus is teaching and he's starting to get known everywhere, even the spirits are realizing what's going on. The second thing is, because Jesus has power over everything, he had power over the spirit. He could command it to leave the man, and it had to. Next, we learn that the people were amazed. They were like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Which is like, well, duh, of course, because they just saw this crazy thing. But that gave kind of credibility to what Jesus was doing. They would say, wow, this guy has power over spirits. We should probably listen and tune into what he's about to say. So everyone began to wonder what was happening. News spread so quickly because of what Jesus was saying and also because of what he was doing. Jesus was pretty clear about who he was, that he was the Messiah, the Holy One, Son of God. He had all the power given to him. No matter what you're going through in life, The hard times, the scary times, the rough times, the times where you're hurt, every situation, because Jesus has power over everything, you can bring your troubles to him. Next time you're stressed, you're scared, you feel that things are out of your control, you don't know what to do, just remember that you can always bring things to Jesus. That's all we have for this week, everyone. See you later.
In this God story, we saw that Jesus has power over everything, and he can comfort us no matter what we have to face.
Yes, and whenever we get into a difficult situation, we can ask Jesus to be with us, knowing that he has power over everything. We have a cool story for you. Watch this.
My name is Katy, and I work in a school working with children with special needs, and I also plan weddings. I love picnics, and I love being with people. I grew up in a Christian home. My parents were pastors, and we actually moved from the UK to Canada to church plant, and it was my whole life. Everything, all my friends and the community in church was everything that my childhood was based on. Unfortunately, when I was in high school, we had an issue that arose in the church, and it became something that really divided the church in two. And it meant that I was kind of stuck in the middle in this uncomfortable place where I just wanted to love all the different people, but they had such different opinions, but I just didn't know how to navigate that. I felt really torn apart in the midst of this because I just really loved the people that were around me, but they were on two opposite sides, and I just wanted to love them well, but that often left me in a place where I wasn't taking care of myself. And so, I just felt broken and like I didn't have much hope. So this community that I was a part of was no longer a place where I felt safe or welcomed or wanted. People really changed who they were in the community because it had divided. I just saw people hurting one another, and it was a place that I didn't want to be. And so I really walked away from it. I used to be the person who organized events and gathered people together, but because I'd lost this sense of community, I just felt really alone and vulnerable and unsafe, and I just kind of lost a piece of who I was, and I didn't really know where to go from there. I just felt hurt by God, and I felt like he had left me in this place that was scary, and I felt alone in that. And I felt anger towards God, but I felt like I couldn't really be angry with God. But I was still holding on to that. He had power over the situation, that he loved me in that. I had friends who loved me so much, and they made that known, and they were so persistent in wanting to be in my life and wanting the best for me. But they were patient with where I was at and the different places that I was in. And I realized slowly that faith is really built in community. And that's really what my whole life was built on. And it was something that was really lacking. So I really wanted to press into that. Recently, I found a group of people that I just landed with, and I realized that this is what it's all about, and being on the outskirts is not what the church community is. And so I really invested myself and found ways to be a part of what's happening within the church. I have seen places where people maybe are on the outskirts of church, and I've tried to fill those spots. Even in the summer, I had people over every week just to create community and to welcome people in. I know now that it was okay for me to wrestle with God and to be angry with him, but now I see that he was faithful through that, and he loved me through that, even when I couldn't see that. And he put people in my life to encourage me and to come alongside me.
Christian, I saw you there at Katy's picnic too.
Yeah, I was there that day, and let me tell you, Katy, you throw the best picnics. You gotta come out sometime.
I think I'd like that. But you know what? Katy got it so right when she said that faith is built in community. And I'm grateful that you and the rest of Katy's friends continued to show her love throughout what was going on and invited her back to church.
Yeah, and even though she was hurt at an incident at a church she grew up in and knew all her life, she knew that God's love was powerful and stronger than any challenge in her way.
That is so true. Well, let's break now into small groups and see what this looks like in our lives.